The Ivy League reinvented bigotry. Some over-entitled Ivy League student allegedly decided he didn't want to work for a Jew. That's fine. We don't want to employ him either. Not because he is young. Young people make mistakes. That is practically the business model of college. But I don't want to work for a Jew is not a mistake. That is not a bad joke or awkward wording. That is old-fashioned Jew hate dressed up as personal preference. And here is the real problem. This kid is not the disease. He is a symptom. The disease is the moral rot inside elite American institutions that have spent years teaching students to sort people into oppressor and oppressed, guilty and innocent, pure and impure, until one day a student looks at a Jewish founder and thinks, not him, not his kind. Mazel tov, academia. You reinvented bigotry. Let's be clear. Criticizing Israel is allowed. Criticizing any government is allowed. Israelis do it every day. It is practically a national sport, right after arguing over hummus. But refusing to work for a Jew is not criticism of Israel. It is not activism. It is not nuance. It is anti Semitism. And this is where America needs to pay attention, because anti Semitism never stays in the Jewish neighborhood. It starts with the Jew, but it never ends there. Societies that normalize Jew hate do not become more compassionate. They become more suspicious, more divided, more cruel, and more stupid. The Jew has always been civilization's warning light. When a culture starts blaming Jews, excluding Jews, mocking Jews, or treating Jewish existence as morally suspicious, it is not becoming enlightened. It is becoming dangerous. The real tragedy is not that one Ivy League student exposed himself as a bigot. The tragedy is that he felt comfortable enough to say it out loud. That comfort is the crisis. When hatred feels socially acceptable, education has failed. When bigotry sounds like bravery, leadership has failed. When students can graduate from America's finest universities unable to recognize anti Semitism unless it arrives wearing a swastika and speaking German, the problem is not ignorance, it is indoctrination. And there must be consequences. Federal funding should not be a blank check for institutions that allow anti Semitic hatred to fester under the cover of academic freedom. Academic freedom protects the right to think, debate, challenge, and criticize. It does not mean taxpayer funded permission to create hostile environments for Jewish students, faculty, or founders. If a university cannot protect Jews from open discrimination, it should not receive federal money as if nothing is wrong. Not Columbia, not Cornell, not Harvard, not any elite institution with $1 billion endowment, a public relations department, and a sudden inability to identify Jew hate when it happens on its own campus. So, no, we do not need to employ him, but America does need to correct the culture that produced him fast, because a country that teaches its brightest students to despise Jews is not raising moral leaders. It is raising very expensive fools. And history has already shown us what happens when fools learn to hate with confidence, and when the institutions that minted them refuse to notice. If you enjoy my writing, support me by buying my book, Screaming into the Void, available on paperback or Kindle on Amazon.com.